Hey, we're doing some Java. Let's get into it. In this video, we're going to start going over how to solve problems, right? So in Java for the AP exam, you're going to need to be able to look at a problem and be able to write code that solves that problem specifically. Now, before normally coding, you're trying to create something, right? But in this, it's more solving a problem. You have some data, right? You're going to have some sort of input, and then you need to add in your code, right? You add in your code, which then leads to an output. Now, there are some different types of problems that aren't exactly that format that we're going to have to go over, but that's the general flow. So what I'm going to do is, I know most people know Python, and it's a little bit easier of a language to understand than Java. So we're going to start with that, and then we'll show how that would transfer to Java. So, if you're ever looking for problems, CodingDat, like CodingDat.com is a great website. It has a bunch of different Java and Python problems that you can use to kind of learn how to do this. So we're going to start with the warm-ups. Over time, we can get through all of the different problems, and these are all great problems. The AP ones specifically are really good. So we're just going to start with the warm-up, and the first one we're going to do is sum double. This one is all about integers. So I'm going to just copy this right here, and we're going to put it down here. So we're given two integer values. So let's just say x is 2 and y is 3, right? We're going to return their sum. So in this case, we would want to output 5, right? Because we'd add x to. Unless, and this is usually how it's going to work, there's going to be an unless keyword. There's going to be some keyword that you have a normal function, a normal thing, but if there's something, then you're going to have to do something different. So in this case, let's say we have z, and z is 3. In this case, if we're adding these, it's double the sum, so we'd actually have to give 12, right? So let's run this out. So as you can see on here, how it works is we have this public int sum double. Now, if you don't know Java, don't worry about this. The specific syntax is important, but what it is it's a function, right? So what we have here is, let's have define, and normally you want to call it by the name, so we'll do sum double, and we're given two integer values. So let's do x and y. Now in Python, I'm going to do this just because we're going to have to do something like it eventually in Java, but in Python you can do these declarations of types. So we're saying that x is an integer, y is an integer. You don't need to do this in Python, it doesn't add anything, but I'm just doing it for the sake of argument here. And then here, the most important thing is we're going to have to return here. And we're just going to call this sum to start. We're going to return sum. And this is going to be what outputs, and that's what's going to do all of the checks, right? So then what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, and we're going to write some test statements, because just to understand how this works. So let's start with x is equal to 3, y is equal to 4, and we're going to run sum is equal to sum double x, y, right? Now this should return 7. So if sum is equal to 7, print working 1. Then we need the other thing, right? Where if there's 2, so then we'll do A this time. A is 5, B is 5. Now this time sum AB is going to be our sum double, but with A and B, and if sum AB is equal to 20, which it should be because 5 plus 5 times 2 is 20, then we're going to print working 2. So if we print working 1 and 2, now there's a bunch of different edge cases, but that's basically how this works. So so you see there's all of these different expected things, right? So there's all these different cases that they're checking for, and these x's mean that we didn't pass the cases, which obviously we didn't write the code. So this is a very simple example, but we can just kind of hide all of this code. I'll just define this as main. And at the bottom here, we'll just run main. That. So then we can just hide this and put this down here. Okay, beautiful. So what happens is when we run this function, just to check, let's do sum is equal to 0. Run it. No printing happening, right? Absolutely no printing happening, which means we know that it's not working. Now, let's just, for simplicity, let's say sum is equal to x plus y, right? That's going to satisfy this first argument here, right? That we're just adding them, 3 and 4, but it won't satisfy the second one where it's the sum double. So if we run it, we get working 1, but we don't get working 2, right? So now let's think about how to attack this. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, normal, you want to always do this normal thing, right? This normal thing you're going to want at the top. So up here, we're going to have our normal logic, right? But then we need to add in our if logic. I usually call this our if logic. So if something happens, then we have to do something different. So here we're going to say if x is equal to y, right? They're the same, then sum times equals 2. Now, if you don't know that syntax, that just means that we're multiplying the sum by 2. We're doubling the sum, right? Now it should return our sum. If we run that, working 1, working 2. Beautiful. So now we have this framework. Let's transfer it to Java. So we're going to go over Java in totality later, but Java works in a much similar way. It's just a little bit harder coding. So what we're going to do is we have our int a and int b. So our int sum, we have to declare that it's an integer here, is going to be equal to a plus b. And we need to have, unlike JavaScript, we need that semicolon. The semicolon is necessary. Now, we're going to do our if, and like Java, we're going to have these parentheses. A is equal to b. I think that's our equal thing. Then, in these parentheses, we're going to write if a is equal to b, then sum is equal to sum times 2. Then, down here, we're going to return sum. Now, if we run, voila, all correct. Everything worked, and that's perfect. So that is the basics. In the next 2 videos, we're going to go over doing booleans and doing strings in this scenario, and that'll be our simple stuff, and then we'll go into actually learning Java.